Let me guess, you know VR training is the future of healthcare because you've seen the results. Pfizer reducing training time by 40%, Yale University showing VR-trained surgical residents were 9 times less likely to fail procedures, and study after study showing huge improvements compared to traditional training methods. But here's the question, how do you actually launch a VR program? You see, most healthcare organizations waste months on pilot programs that don't scale, choose the wrong technology stack, or fail to get buy-in from their medical staff. So in this video, I'll break down the exact step-by-step process that we've used with many leading healthcare organizations to successfully implement VR training programs, from initial planning all the way to full-scale deployment. Step 1, figure out where VR will make a difference. The biggest mistake I see healthcare organizations make is trying to force VR into everything all at once. That's a recipe for disaster. Instead, you want to focus on areas where VR solves real problems that traditional training simply can't. Start with high-risk scenarios that are tough to practice safely. Think about complex surgical procedures where mistakes are costly, or emergency response situations that you can't recreate very easily. You also want to look at procedures involving expensive equipment that can't be taken offline for training purposes. Then look for training bottlenecks in your current system. These are areas where new hires take a long time to become competent, skills that require tons of repetition have limited practice opportunities, or dangerous procedures where safety concerns slow down training. You also need to consider your specific compliance and certification requirements. Focus on training that needs documented proof of competency, scenarios where you need standardized training across multiple locations, and skills that require regular certification. Take one of our clients, Boston Children's Hospital, for example. They didn't start with every single possible training scenario. They focused on specific challenges like training anesthesiology residents to familiarize themselves with operating room environments and medication drawers before stepping into real-world surgeries, especially useful during COVID when OR access was restricted. Step 2, build a business case. You need real numbers to convince leadership, not just showing how cool VR is with some fancy presentation, unfortunately. Calculate what training problems are currently costing you. How much does equipment downtime cost when used for training? What's the price tag on training-related errors or safety incidents? How much are you spending on traditional training methods annually? Next, quantify the potential improvements that VR can deliver. Based on studies, you might see 40 to 50% reduction in training time. There's potential for significantly fewer errors during actual procedures, plus the ability to train more people without additional physical resources. Don't forget to factor in the hidden costs that VR eliminates. There's less need for expensive training equipment and materials, reduced trainer time since VR can handle repetitive training tasks, and lower facility costs since training can happen anywhere. Nicholas Children's Hospital, for example, found that VR training led to a 60% reduction in patient anxiety and perceived pain in children, with parent anxiety dropping by around 70%. They support 8,000 patients and practitioners with VR yearly, demonstrating massive scale and impact. Step 3, choose your technology and content strategy. This step is absolutely crucial to make sure your VR program is a success. Pick VR hardware that matches your actual needs. Consider how many people you need to train simultaneously. Think about where training will happen, whether that's dedicated rooms or mobile use, and make sure headsets can handle the complexity of your training content. Also consider hygiene. Can you use controllers, or do you need a headset that comes with hand tracking? Also, decide on your content approach early. You can go with custom development for highly specialized procedures, use off-the-shelf content for general medical training scenarios, or take a hybrid approach where you mixed purchased and custom content. It's just a matter of what you're looking to do. By the way, in the description, you can find our directory of all our trusted VR healthcare content developers. Another important part is managing your devices, and that's where platforms like ArborXR come in. With ArborXR, you don't have to worry about manually updating hundreds of headsets or trying to track compliance data across different systems. The platform integrates seamlessly with existing healthcare systems and handles compliance tracking automatically, which saves you a ton of headache down the road. Plus, you can deploy content updates instantly without ever having to touch a headset. Even better, ArborXR can help your users log in to their training using your existing system and track their progress in headset, and then pass that data to whatever LMS, HRIS, or BI tool you need it to end up in. To try ArborXR for free, just click the first link in the description. Step 4, start small with a focused pilot program. Every successful VR implementation I've seen starts with a well-designed pilot that proves the concept works in their specific specific environment. Pick one specific training area for your pilot. Choose something with clear, measurable outcomes. Select an area where traditional training has obvious limitations, and start with 10 to 20 trainees who represent different experience levels. Set up proper measurement from day one. Track user improvements compared to traditional training, monitor user feedback and adoption rates, document technical issues and how quickly they get resolved, and measure actual time savings and cost reductions. Also, plan for a realistic timeline. Most successful pilots run for 2 to 3 months minimum, and you have to build in time for technical hiccups and user adaptation and allow for content adjustments based on the initial feedback you receive. Parker University didn't try to revolutionize all medical training overnight. They focused on specific challenges in their chiropractic program, starting with anatomy education using touch-of-life technologies and gradually expanding to communication training with body swaps for mock job interviews. They developed custom chiropractic scenarios since standard medical VR content didn't quite fit their needs. Here's where ArborXR becomes essential during pilots. We can remotely monitor how your devices are performing, track device and learner usage analytics, and help you identify technical issues before they derail your entire pilot program. This kind of oversight is what separates successful pilots from ones that fail. Step 5, prepare for full-scale deployment. This is where having the right infrastructure becomes critical, because managing a few VR headsets manually is totally different from managing hundreds or thousands. Invest in proper device management from the start. You need a platform that can remotely deploy content to all devices, has the ability to control what users can access and do in headset, and offers a centralized reporting on usage and performance metrics. Plan out your content distribution strategy. How will you get new training modules to devices across multiple locations? What happens when you need to update content really quickly? How will you handle different content for different roles or departments? Organizations like Nicholas Children's Hospital had to think about this early because they're scaling across 12 different hospital units with 65 innovation ambassadors. Each of their child life specialists has their own VR headset for daily patient use, requiring sophisticated content management and device tracking. This has been where ArborXR has been a game changer. We handle all the complex device management automatically so your IT team doesn't get overwhelmed. You can push content updates to thousands of devices simultaneously, control exactly what each user sees based on their role and training level, and get detailed analytics on how your VR program is performing across your entire organization. And maybe most importantly, you can track usage to prove ROI, so you can grow your XR programs and make an even bigger impact. Without a platform like this, scaling VR training becomes practically impossible. Step 6, set up systems. The most successful VR programs don't just get deployed and forgotten. They evolve based on real usage data and feedback. Make sure you regularly review and update content. Medical procedures and best practices change over time. Your VR content needs to stay current with the latest guidelines, and you need to build in feedback loops from both trainees and instructors. Also, keep in mind that VR hardware and software keep advancing, so build flexibility into your deployment. This way, you can adapt to new technologies and easily expand your program to other areas over time. Now, here's the thing. The difference between success and failure usually comes down to having the right device management platform from the start. Most healthcare organizations underestimate how complex it becomes to manage VR devices, deploy content, and control user experiences at scale. That's exactly why organizations like Pfizer, Boston Children's Hospital, and hundreds of other healthcare organizations partner with ArborXR to handle all the technical complexity. So if you're serious about implementing VR training that actually delivers results instead of becoming another expensive experiment, then click the first link in the description to get started with ArborXR. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.